This animated data visualization tracks a stark cultural shift across the American population. It shows that right now, 1 in 7 people believe that political violence is sometimes acceptable. It is easy to write off that statistic by assuming the people behind it are isolated extremists or career criminals, but the data tells a different story. According to legal experts like Todd Blanche, the modern offender often completely defies the stereotype. They are college-educated, they are fully employed, and otherwise living completely normal lives. What psychological mechanism is powerful enough to override the common sense of an otherwise stable citizen? A person rarely decides to break the law overnight. They take that leap because the culture around them slowly rationalizes the behavior until it feels like a reasonable choice. The societal barrier that keeps ordinary people from crossing into violence is actively being dismantled from the top down. Psychologists identify this process as a pipeline of permissibility. Extreme ideas are introduced, repeated, and gradually normalized into standard behavior. Before an ordinary person commits an extreme act, society must first convince them that what they are doing is a moral necessity. The pipeline starts at the top of our media ecosystem. Pundits and politicians broadcast relentless, hyperbolic rhetoric directly to the masses, completely stripped of evidence. They target specific leaders, erasing their status as political opponents and instead branding them as existential threats to society. This hostile framing is then applied down the chain, targeting high-profile cultural commentators to broaden the scope of the perceived enemy. This creates a dangerous psychological pivot. If a viewer is repeatedly told that a specific public figure is an absolute monster, taking action against them stops feeling like a crime. Unchecked rhetoric provides the initial spark. It packages raw hatred as a righteous duty, handing individuals the exact permission they need to act. This mechanism of rationalization inevitably spills out of the political arena and bleeds directly into everyday local offenses. Consider the prevalent narrative pushed for years by figures like Bernie Sanders, that the system is entirely rigged and that massive corporations are actively cheating the working class. This systemic grievance narrative has birthed a direct, real-world byproduct known as microlooting. People are entering corporate grocery stores and pharmacies and walking out with up to $800 worth of stolen product, completely unbothered by their actions. In the perpetrator's mind, they are not hurting anyone. They genuinely believe their theft is victimless and morally balanced out by the unfairness of the corporate system. When an ideology hands someone a moral license, the basic threshold for obeying the law disappears. The final accelerant in this pipeline is the failure of the neutral institutions meant to mediate our cultural divides. Within the mental health profession, there is a growing trend of therapists actively validating political factionalism instead of treating it. We are seeing practicing professionals outright refusing to treat individuals based entirely on how they voted at the ballot box. The harm compounds when these same professionals advise vulnerable patients to permanently sever ties with their own friends and family members over political disagreements. When the people tasked with maintaining our psychological guardrails begin actively tearing them down, society loses its final line of defense. To understand exactly what we have lost, we have to step outside of our modern echo chamber and look at how we handled previous crises. Take the tense, immediate aftermath of the assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan. As the president was brought in for emergency surgery, his lead surgeon, a man politically opposed to the administration, looked at him and declared, "Today, Mr. Reagan, we're all Republicans." There was once a defined era where basic human empathy and national unity categorically superseded political loyalty during a national crisis. Back in the present, our culture of rationalization is extracting a heavy, tangible cost. The normalization of microlooting is driving up local prices and hollowing out neighborhood communities. The rationalization of extreme rhetoric directly correlates to a rise in physical threats, bringing us right back to that terrifying reality of 1 in 7 Americans supporting violence. You cannot arrest or legislate your way out of a problem that is rooted entirely in cultural permission. The only viable solution starts at the individual level. We must actively refuse to let extreme political rhetoric overwrite our personal morality. The pipeline of permissibility will only collapse when we decide that our relationships with friends and family transcend any single political figure.